We faced a tremendous military and security challenges. You know, it's extremely difficult to fight with the Russian regular military forces that are armed to the teeth, well-trained, well-equipped, and well-modernized. That's why Russia spent billions of dollars in the last decade.
The second thing we've done has to do with the revenue side of the budget, and that's expanding our tax base. As you can well imagine, in our 9th and 10th quarters of a recession, there's no way for us to collect greater taxes from the existing business people. But what we can do is raise the taxes on the wealthy, which we did through increasing the progressive income tax rate, increasing luxury taxes.
And so, Mr. Minister, I would like to ask you to maybe specifically in your introductory remarks address these fears as well. What can you tell us to reassure us that you and Kiev are actually on the right track?
Thank you very much. I may start by saying just where the economy is right now. Last year -7%, this year, and a fairly optimistic scenario that military activities do not escalate. We will still, by inertia, will fall 5.5%. Inflation's 30%, exchange rate has deteriorated quite dramatically. So we could say that the house is on fire. And before we build a new house, we need to put this fire down. So Minister of Finance is exactly doing that. Basically, pulling together all this international additional financial assistance which is needed to replenish central bank reserves, stabilize exchange rate.
This is our responsibility and this is the obligation of this government, to pave the way and to build the future. And for this aim and for this target, we use all tools and means, including those who have a previous record of being in the government, but not a corrupted record. And the government imposed a new scrutiny measures over corrupted officials. And I just mentioned that, for example, my tax declaration under the new laws that were passed by the parliament was under the scrutiny of the IRS for 1 month. And I personally had to explain everything. Every single bank account, every asset, every revenue that I got personally as a prime minister. So this is the good step forward. And the thing is that all of the rest, those who present a former political apparatus or former political red tape government, those who are efficient, they have to join the team. This is the aim and this is the task of everyone in Ukraine, to do everything we can to make Ukraine a solid, strong and European state, to overcome all these troubles and hurdles and to move and never give up. So that's the way how we balance, and we still have the support of the Ukrainian people. This is the good news.
Thank you very much.
Crimes against humanity that were committed at Maidan. The key problem we have is that former President Yanukovych and his gang got an asylum and Russian passports in Russian Federation. So Ukrainian Department of Homeland Security and Prosecutor's Office asked Russian Federation to buy a one-way ticket to former President Yanukovych, former Ministry of Interior, former Chief of the National Security Service from Moscow to Kiev. And this will be the best way how to appropriately investigate this massacre that happened at Maidan. We do understand that the former former general prosecutor has made a number of huge mistakes in investigating these crimes. And new general prosecutor, together with the Ministry of Interior, they established a special investigation team, and they will speed up and accelerate the process. But again, it's all about testimonies. We need to have former President Yanukovych in Kiev to testify. Putin's ultimate goal is to eliminate Ukraine as an independent state and to stop our quest for Europe. Putin's ultimate goal is to wage the war against the West. And Ukraine became a battlefield of Putin's aggression and Putin's war against freedom, liberty, independence, and democracy. And let me reiterate once again, we are not just fighting for Ukraine, we are not just fighting for our borders, for our territorial integrity and for our independence. We are fighting for your security, we are fighting for your borders, we are fighting for your stability. Look at the last, I would say, Russian activity. They invaded Georgia, illegally annexed Crimea, invaded the east of Ukraine. They constantly, deliberately sent their badges to the airspace of NATO member states. They started to sponsor different type of radical political forces in Europe to trigger instability in the EU. They try to split unity among EU member states, and they try to split unity between the US and the EU. They try to destabilize the world, to draw the new lines after the Second World War. And they believe that the Russian stability lies in the instability in the entire world. That Soviets believed in. Probably the miracle will happen. And Russia and Russian president will realize that they have to be a normal partner of the world, a responsible P5 member, but not an aggressor, which is armed to the teeth, trying to intimidate the world. No one fears them. And Ukrainian military deterred Russian-led terrorists and Russian regular army for the last 12 months. It's not us who invaded Russia. This is Russia who invaded Ukraine. We are defending our country, our land, our independence, our families, and European security and stability. An asset of freedom, an asset of liberty, and an asset of democracy. So I have no doubt that everyone in Europe understands everything, despite the fact that Russian propaganda, which is extremely tough, effective, well-sponsored, with a huge network that tries to buy politicians, media, NGOs, Russian propaganda in any case will fail. If Putin makes an aggression, for example, in Georgia, he will be fed up. No. Then he illegally annexed Crimea. Probably he will be happy with Crimea. No. Then he will probably take Lugansk. No. Then Donetsk. No. Who's next? Lviv or Lisbon? So it's not about rhetoric. This is about the truth and the reality. And my aim and my personal target is to de-escalate the conflict. We are suffering. After this so-called ceasefire that you just mentioned, we lost 75 Ukrainian soldiers. More than 400 were injured. Thousands, 1.1 million people lost everything. They are IDPs. We lost 20% of Ukrainian economy. We are suffering. And we've paid a huge price for our independence. And paying still. On the OSCE report, that's true that there were some reports, if I'm not mistaken, 2 reports. But the thing is that OSCE was not allowed, for example, to verify the pullback of heavy weaponry in the territories that are under the control of Russian-led terrorists. For today, I just provided you with the data. Huge casualties, huge losses, and ongoing shelling. And if this is the ceasefire, I'm just wondering what fire means. Frankly, I stick to Kyiv format. This is the best one. And at this format, I see the EU, the US, and Ukraine sitting at the same table, having one joint position, defending democracy, and pressing on Russia to implement and execute an international law.